13. So I'm going to do number 13 for you. You're going to do 14 in class. We're also going to do section 40 today. Okay? So let's start with 39. 39, section 39, the problem number 13 states the height. An aircraft flies between Sam and Kate. So Sam's over here and Kate is over there. Okay, Sam and Kate are 1,000 feet apart, and they show that in the diagram. And when Sam spots the plane, the angle is 45 degrees. Okay, and they give, 40 degrees. They give us that elevation. At the same moment, Katie looks up, and the angle for her is 35 degrees. And how high above the ground is the plane the moment the Sam and Kate spotted the plane? So we're trying to find out what the height is. So before we can find the height, we need to find one of these sides. We need to either find side S or side K. So we have to use, before we can find side S, side K, we need to know what this angle up here is on the top. So when you add 40 plus 35 degrees, and that is going to give us 75 degrees. So when you subtract 180 minus 75 degrees, which is going to give us 105 degrees. So this angle up here on the top is 105 degrees. So we need that because the big triangle is not a right triangle. So we can use law of sines. We can just find side S. So sine of 40 degrees is to side S, is sine of 105 degrees is to side 1000. Okay, so we can go to calculator and calculate that. So that will be sine of 100 degrees. Okay, and then we're going to divide that by 100 degrees, 105 degrees, 105 degrees. We're going to divide that by 1000. Okay, and we get an answer, and that turns out to be the right side is 0.00096. Okay. So now we had to find sine of 40 degrees, so let's go find sine of 40 degrees, sine of 40 degrees, and that turns out to be 0.6428 over S is equal to 0.000966. So to find S, we're just going to cross multiply, so my S is equal to 0.6428. Divide that by 0.000966. So let's do that. 0.6428 and divide that by 0.000966. Enter, and that turns out to be, the side S turns out to be 665 feet. So this is 665 feet. Okay, once we have that, we can just use the normal right triangle trig, because this right here is a right angle, and this is the hypotenuse. Okay, and we know we're dealing with this hypotenuse and the side opposite of the angle. So that means we're going to go sine of 35 degrees is to opposite, which is h, over hypotenuse, which is 665. So let's find sine of 35 degrees. So sine of 35 degrees, and that turns out to be 0.5736 is equal to h over 665. So to find h, we're just going to multiply 0.5736 by 665, and when we multiply that, this turns out to be 350 feet is the height. So the height happens to be 381 feet. Okay? Alright, so that is how we solve, oops, so there, go backwards. 381 feet. Alright, so now let's go to law of cosines. And there's a difference between law of cosines and law of sines. So first I'm going to state the law of cosines, and you have to memorize this. It looks like a Pythagorean theorem. So c squared, there's three of them. C squared is equal to a squared plus b squared minus 2ab times cosine of angle c. And then we have a second one, which is, let's say, b squared is equal to a squared plus c squared minus 2ac and cosine of angle b. And then third one, we have a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times cosine of angle c. Okay, so the first part of it looks like a Pythagorean theorem. And the second half is minus 2ab comes from here and here, and then cosine of angle c, whichever side we're trying to solve for. Okay, so the big C here is an angle, and the big B is an angle, and this should be angle A. Sorry about that. So angle A. Should be angle A. Okay, this is known as law of cosines. Okay, when do we use law of cosines? We use law of cosines whenever we don't have an angle and a side across from it. So let's start with a simple problem like number 14, and we'll go to a more complicated one. And they give us a is equal to 3, b is equal to 4, b is equal to 4. And they tell us angle C is equal to 40 degrees. So if we were to draw a random triangle, okay, I'm going to call this C, I'm going to put that down there as 40 degrees. And then it doesn't matter where I put the A, B, and C, so let's go A there and B there, it doesn't matter, it's not drawn to scale. So A happens to be 3, B, let's try to maybe draw it to a scale a little bit, huh? So let's call that the B and call that the A, since A is smaller. So let's A is C and B is 4, and we don't know what side C is. Normally we were given that side because we have that angle right there. That's in law of sines, but we can't do that because if we don't have an angle and a side across from it, we can't use law of sines. So law of cosines. So what should I solve for? Okay, so since I have angle C, I'm going to solve for side C. So that means it's the first equation. So C squared is equal to A squared, and A happens to be 3 squared, plus B squared, which is 4 squared, minus 2 times 3 times 4 times cosine of angle 40 degrees. Okay, so C squared is equal to 9 and plus 16 minus 2 times 3, which is 6, times 4, which is 24, times cosine of 40 degrees. Okay, one of the things that everybody makes a mistake on, they will add and subtract these, okay, before you multiply those. So make sure you add just these two first and not subtract 24. So 9 plus 16 is 25 minus 24 times cosine of 40 degrees. So we're going to go find cosine of 40 degrees, and that turns out to be 0.7660. So we're going to multiply that by 24, and that turns out to be c squared is equal to 25 minus 18.385. So 25 minus 18.385. Okay, and that's 6.6, so c squared is equal to 6.615. Okay, my c is square root of that, so let's take a square root. Okay, my square root button is located here, so square root of 6.615. Okay, and that turns out to be my c is equal to 2.572. Okay, so this side is 2.572, and I told you to round everything to one decimal place, so we're going to round that to 2.6. And all the angles we're going to round up to whole degree. Alright, we found that. Okay, once we find that, we don't have to, law of cosines is a lot of work, and we can go ahead use law of sines to find the rest of the stuff, but you have to be careful. Okay, what you don't want to do is you don't want to find the largest angle, because again, because the law of sines is restricted to the first and fourth quadrant, okay, it might give you false positive, so you have to watch out for that. So when the question comes, well, should we find angle A or angle B? Okay, and we want to find angle A because that's the smaller side, and if for some reason angle B turns out to be more than 90 degrees, we don't end up getting an error, okay, or we end up making a mistake somewhere. Okay, so we're going to find angle A. So we're going to do sine of 40 degrees is to 2.6, which we know, is equal to sine of angle A is to 3. So that's easy to find. So we're going to find, back to law of sines, sine of 40 degrees. Okay, and we're going to divide that by 2.6. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and that turns out to be 0.2472. And we're going to multiply that by 3. That's going to give us sine of angle A. So multiply that by 3, which will give us sine of angle A is equal to 0.7417. So my angle A is sine inverse of that. So we're going to find sine inverse of 0.7417, and that gives us 48 degrees, and that happens to be 48 degrees. Okay, so now we're going to find angle B. Okay, and we can find angle B just subtracting. Okay, all we're going to do is we're going to add 40 plus 48, which is going to give us 88 degrees. And then when you subtract 180 minus 88, which is going to give us 92 degrees. So angle B is 92 degrees. Okay, now remember, if we went and found angle, try to find angle B using law of sines, we're going to make a mistake because 92 degrees is in the second quadrant. And it's going to give you a false positive because you can't deal with that. So you should always try to find, using the smaller side, find an angle that is smaller than 90 degrees. So as long as you use smaller side, you're going to be okay. Okay, so we found everything. So let's list everything. Angle A is 48 degrees. Angle B is 92 degrees. Angle C is 40 degrees. Side A is 3. Side B is 4. And side C is 2.6. And we do not have an ambiguous case when we're using law of cosines. Ambiguous case only occurs with law of sines. Okay, so let's go one more. And let's go to problem number 20. Problem number 20, they give us A is equal to 10, B is equal to 8, and C is equal to 5. So let's draw a random triangle. Alright, and A is 10, which is my biggest side, so let's call that A, and that's 10. And side B, let's call that B, that's 8, and then obviously that's angle C, so that'll be 5. So I don't have any angles, so I have to go find an angle. So law of cosines, I'm okay because to find the largest angle. So that's what I want to do. I want to take care of this angle first. You don't have to, but at least we get the big angle out of the way. So we're finding angle A. So that means we're going to use A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times cosine of angle A. And angle A is what we're trying to find. So we're going to plug in everything we have right now for A, B, and C. So this would be 10 squared is equal to 8 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 8 times 5 times cosine of angle A. Well, that's 100 is equal to 64 plus 25 minus 2 times 8 times 5, which is going to give me 80, which is cosine of angle A. Alright, 64 plus 25, so that is going to give me 89 minus 80 cosine of angle A. We can't subtract these two. We have to take the 89 to the other side. So it'll give me 11 is equal to negative 80 is equal to cosine of angle A. So cosine of angle A is 11 over negative 80. So let's go ahead, let's find out what that is. Okay. So we're going to take 11 and we're going to divide that by minus 80. Hit enter, and that turns out to be cosine of angle A turns out to be negative 0.1375. So to find angle A, we're going to take inverse of that. So we're going to go cosine, let's go cosine inverse of negative 0.1375. Okay, and that turns out to be 98 degrees. Okay, so 98 degrees, what I found. So now I need to find the other two angles, so I can use law of sines because it's just so easy. Okay, so I'm going to go sine of 98 degrees is to 10, and let's go ahead and find the smaller one, the C. So sine of angle C is to 5. Okay, law of sines is easy, so let's go ahead and crank that out. Sine of 98, okay, and then we're going to divide that by 10, hit enter, and this turns out to be 0.0990. And then we'll multiply that by 5 is equal to sine of C. So times 5, okay, and that is 0.4951 is equal to sine of C. And then we're going to take inverse sine of that, inverse sine of 0.4951, okay, and that turns out to be 30 degrees. Okay, how do I find my third angle, angle B? So we're going to add 30 plus 98, and that gives us 128, and we're going to subtract 180 from that, and it turns out to be 52 degrees. So this is 52 degrees. So we found all the angles on all the sides. So my angle A is 98 degrees, angle B is 52 degrees, angle C is 30 degrees, and side A is 10, side B is 8, and side C is 5. And there it is. Found all the angles and all the sides, and I'm given 3 sides originally. Okay, that's it.